I didn't grow up in a church family, so when I came to faith in my late teens, it was quite a shock, both to me and to everyone who knew me. I used the term come to faith very loosely. I went to church as it was a place I felt both safe and at peace. But the concept of personal prayer as part of a relationship with God was not something I considered until years later. And today, some 30 years after that time, prayer is still something that I struggle with. I have often felt foolish holding this one-sided conversation with someone who doesn't answer. Prayer with words feels very empty, even lonely. And I'm left with a yearning to feel or experience God in some meaningful way. And I'm ashamed to admit that I've been envious of those people who find verbal prayer deeply fulfilling, who look forward to that time spent in conversation with God as rewarding and revitalizing, rather than a somewhat onerous duty, like visiting an elderly relative. For a long time, I thought my struggle with verbal prayer must mean I didn't have a strong enough faith. I do struggle with faith. It's something I want to have. I really, really want to believe there is a God who intentionally created me and who loves me just as I am. So slightly bizarrely, my most frequent verbal prayer is simply that there is a God. And yet there are moments when I know at some visceral level that there is a God. Despite not being an especially outdoorsy person, I loathe being wet and cold. It is outside that I experience the presence of God. Creation leaves me breathless and speechless. Surely the scale of the universe we inhabit cannot be an accident. The sheer size of the falls at Niagara, or the details in a stalk of grass. How could that happen unless it was intended? A couple of years ago, I hiked to the base of the Grand Canyon with my family, and sitting outside in the freezing cold, and it was incredibly cold, looking up at the night sky without any light pollution, the stars were bright and clear, and I was utterly overwhelmed and found myself weeping. But it's not just in the huge, awe-inspiring sights that I have such an emotional response. The beauty in a magnolia blossom, which stays on the tree for a matter of days, also has the power to move me to tears. A snowy tree on a sunny day, or a beautiful sunset. The colour and shape of a drop of water, a bird in flight, or a still lake reflecting the surroundings. Imagine the power of a being able to create such beauty, such detail, such grandeur. As I've been talking, I have shared some of these images with you, images that are a poor representation of the originals, but which serve to remind me of the incredible power and attention to detail of the creator of the universe. To create something that beautiful, that immense, that detailed is surely a labour of love. And as I am part of that creation, I too must be loved by my Creator. You may have gathered by now that I struggle to pray using words. Instead, it is in images, colours, shapes and emotions that I talk with God. Pain is in jagged and sharp images in my head, bare trees, lightning, but can also be in beauty, the vulnerability of a bird in the sky, snowdrops in the spring that die in a late frost. Their brief existence leaves me with feelings of grief and loss. In the same ways, I hear from God, beams of sun from the clouds on an overcast day, or the glorious colours in autumn leaves, a beautiful sky at the end of a long, tiring day. And so I'm going to leave you with a question. How do you pray without words?